Have you ever woken up and felt like the world around you no longer makes sense? The things you once cared about seemed less important. The routines that used to feel normal now feel unnecessary, and society moves so fast that sometimes it feels like you are being left behind. But why does this happen? Why do certain things stop making sense after 70? And more importantly, how can you adapt to these changes? Today, we are uncovering 9 surprising things that no longer make sense after 70 and what you can do to embrace this new phase of life. As you age, you start to notice that the world around you does not feel the same. Things that once seemed important now feel unnecessary. Conversations that used to excite you might now feel repetitive, and the rush to achieve more suddenly feels meaningless. But why does this happen? Science shows that as we grow older, our priorities shift naturally. Our brains are wired to focus less on external validation and more on internal peace. This is why certain things that mattered when you were younger now feel irrelevant. But this change does not just happen in your mind, it happens in your body and in the way society treats you. Suddenly people expect you to slow down, technology moves too fast, traditions you grew up with start fading, and social circles become smaller. All these changes can make you feel out of place, like you are living in a world that no longer matches the one you knew. But here is the real truth: this is not a sign of losing control, it is a sign of gaining clarity and understanding what truly matters. After 70, you no longer have time for unnecessary stress, meaningless expectations, or things that do not add value to your life. But what exactly are these things that stop making sense? Let's dive into the 9 biggest changes you will notice. 9 things that no longer make sense after 70. As you step into your 70s, life starts to look different. Certain habits, priorities, and concerns that once shaped your daily routine now feel unnecessary or even confusing. Here are 9 things that no longer make sense after 70 and the surprising reasons behind them. 1. Rushing through life. When you were younger, everything was about speed. You had deadlines, responsibilities, and a constant feeling that you needed to keep up. But after 70, that urgency fades. Suddenly, rushing feels pointless. Why? Science shows that as we age, our perception of time changes. We become more focused on quality over quantity. Instead of racing through tasks, we start appreciating the moment and valuing peace over productivity. 2. Keeping up with trends. Fashion, technology, social media, new slang. At some point you realize you do not care about staying updated anymore. But why? The brain naturally prioritizes familiarity over novelty. As we age, meaning we feel more drawn to what is comfortable rather than what is new. This is why older adults often prefer classic styles, timeless traditions, and routines that feel stable rather than constantly adapting to change. 3. Holding grudges. There was a time when arguments and conflicts felt like they mattered, but after 70 something shifts, you start realizing that anger is exhausting and forgiveness is freeing. Research shows that older adults tend to focus more on emotional well-being and peace rather than dwelling on past conflicts. This is why you might feel less inclined to hold on to resentment and more interested in letting go. 4. Buying unnecessary things. You once enjoyed shopping, collecting, and owning more, but now material things do not bring the same satisfaction. The reason is simple: after a lifetime of accumulating, you realize that experiences and relationships hold more value than possessions. Studies show that as people age, they become more focused on meaningful connections and less on material wealth. 5. Worrying about what others think. When you were younger, social approval mattered, fitting in was important, but after 70 something changes, you realize that other people's opinions do not define your happiness. Psychologists call this the freedom effect of aging, where self-consciousness fades and self-acceptance grows. You start living for yourself instead of worrying about external judgment. 6. Eating like you used to. Your eating habits naturally change after 70. The foods you once loved may no longer feel right. Heavy meals might become uncomfortable and cravings shift. But why? Metabolism slows, digestion changes, and your body starts prioritizing nutrition over indulgence. This is why eating for health rather than habit suddenly makes more sense. 7. Saving money for the future. For most of your life, you were taught to save for the future, but after 70 you realize the future is now. Suddenly spending on experiences makes more sense than hoarding money for a later time that may never come. Psychological studies show that older adults tend to prioritize present enjoyment over long-term financial accumulation. 8. Being too busy. A packed schedule used to be a sign of productivity, but after 70 you start craving simplicity. Science confirms that happiness in later years comes from fewer but deeper connections rather than a never-ending to-do list. This is why many older adults start cutting down on commitments and focusing more on what truly brings them joy. 9. Chasing perfection. Whether it was about your appearance, achievements, or past mistakes, there was a time when perfection mattered, but after 70 you realize that perfection is an illusion. Instead of striving for something impossible, you start embracing authenticity, peace, and self-acceptance. Studies show that older adults naturally become more forgiving of themselves and focus on enjoying life rather than proving something to others. These 9 shifts can feel strange at first, but they are actually a sign of growth and wisdom. The key is not to resist these changes, but to embrace them and use them to live a more fulfilling life. But how do you do that? Let's talk about that next. How to adapt and stay ahead. Now that you understand why these things stop making sense after 70, the real question is, how do you embrace these changes instead of feeling lost or disconnected? The key is to shift your mindset and focus on what truly matters. Here are some powerful ways to adapt and stay ahead. 1. Redefine your priorities. Instead of trying to hold on to old habits, ask yourself what truly makes you happy today. If something no longer adds value to your life, let it go. Focus on activities and relationships that bring joy, peace, and meaning rather than just keeping busy out of habit. 2. Surround yourself with like-minded people. As you age, social circles naturally change. Instead of feeling isolated, make an effort to connect with people who understand and appreciate your perspective, whether it's through a hobby group, community gatherings, or simply deepening your bond with close family and friends. Having the right people around can make this stage of life fulfilling. 3. Simplify your life. Life is meant to be enjoyed, not just managed. Decluttering your home, streamlining your daily routine, and letting go of unnecessary stress can help you focus on what truly matters. Simplicity brings clarity and peace, making your days more meaningful. Embrace change without fear. Change is inevitable, but instead of resisting it, see it as an opportunity to grow. Just because things are different now doesn't mean they are worse. Learning to accept and even enjoy change can help you live with a sense of freedom rather than frustration. 5. Celebrate the wisdom and freedom that comes with age. After 70, you have gained something that younger generations are still searching for: wisdom, perspective, and the ability to enjoy life without the pressure of proving anything. Instead of seeing this phase as the end, think of it as a new beginning where you get to live life on your terms. These changes might seem unfamiliar at first, but when you embrace them with the right mindset, you will realize that life after 70 is not about loss, it's about clarity, simplicity, and true happiness. But there's one final lesson that ties everything together. Let's talk about that next. Life after 70 is not about losing purpose or feeling disconnected. It is about gaining a new perspective on what truly matters. The things that no longer make sense are simply a sign that you have outgrown old worries and distractions. What once seemed urgent now feels unnecessary. What once felt important now seems trivial, and what once consumed your thoughts no longer holds power over you. This is not a bad thing. It is a gift, a chance to live without unnecessary burdens, to focus on peace over pressure, joy over obligations, and meaning over material things. Instead of feeling frustrated by these changes, embrace them as proof that you have reached a level of wisdom and understanding that few people ever achieve. So what is the biggest thing that no longer makes sense to you after 70? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let's start a conversation and learn from each other. And if you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more content about life, self-improvement, and personal growth. After 60, your best years are not behind you, they are still ahead of you if you choose to live them fully.